Oops.
So also we have the sorry.
Oops.
Just onto the next one. That's
the right one,
and then just onto the next one. Thank you. Thank you. That's great. Yeah. So the Places and Spaces is pretty much based on the same model as the crowdfunding, the Active Together program. So it is through crowdfunder as well, with the match funding of up to 50%, and again with the maximum amount of £10,000. We are looking at sort of the Commonwealth Games and the legacy behind this. So it is sort of providing lasting legacy as part of the United by Birmingham 2022 Commonwealth Games. So there has to be sort of an element of that with the projects that you might be wanting to put forward for this particular programme. It's looking at sort of enhancing places and spaces to make them friendly, accessible, accommodating to participants to be able to take part in sport and physical activity. It might be that you have a identified place where there's nothing going on there, and actually putting that access or some form of sport or physical activity within that area may boost sort of the wider community to be able to get active in that space. So again, it is for not-for-profit organisations again, and also looking again, as I say, up to £10,000 match funding. There is also with this one, because it is about sort of capital-based projects, we just sort of ask, do you need planning permission, and ensuring that that's in place. If you need, so you would need to have either ownership or a long-term lease on the particular area or facility that you're looking to enhance, and also have those in place to be able to make the changes to the place or space that you're looking to get funding for. Next slide, please. So we also have the Great Ideas approach as well. So it's more, so it was launched in October 2018. It isn't a funding pot as such, but it is more so for people to be able to put forward an idea. As I say, it's looking at sort of innovative ideas to be able to get people physically active. There's 4 simple questions that you would put forward your idea through to, and you receive a response within 5 working days as to whether or not we're able to support it. So we would have a look at that project, assess it, if there's anything that we're able to find in terms of funding support, or it may be sort of other links or sort of links to community based networks that might be more useful. We would try and find that through other teams within the organisation. So you do receive tailored feedback following an application being made to that particular programme. So also during the pandemic, a research was commissioned to identify certain communities that had been disproportionately affected by the pandemic, and this impacted on their ability to be active. This meant that we were looking at investment into this particular area. So the £20 million was invested into the Tackling Inequalities Fund back in April 2020 to help these groups. So this was distributed through, and still is distributed through, active partnerships and strategic national partners. So we are looking at targeting various organisations. So there's 4 key people and areas that we are focusing on. So low socioeconomic groups, disabled people, culturally diverse communities, and people with long-term health conditions. So the projects are really so much sort of based around getting those people to be active, or being able to give them that access and support to be regularly active following the impact that the pandemic has had on them. A further 20 million has recently been invested into the continuation of the Tackling Inequalities Fund. So that's now called the Together Fund. So this will continue to help further growth and recovery of the community organisations that we're working with in terms of the target audience. So as I mentioned, Sport England is more than just a funder. So as well as sort of investing funding and supporting groups through that way, we can also help you connect with local organisations, improve coaching and volunteering, provide insight and provision and uptake of activity in your area, which can really help to inform what might be needed, what's already taking place, to then be able to put in the certain measures that you need to for your area. And also tools to help you engage audiences as well. So if you're not too sure how to set up a project, it's the various things that you might need to consider that we do have resources on. So in terms of non-funding support, we've got a Club Matters website which looks at which has sort of online resources and tools for sports clubs and volunteer organisations. Is ample information about various different areas, going from sort of welfare and safeguarding to finances to getting people and promoting your club or organisation. We also have a design guidance section which looks at sort of different facilities and the things that you may need to consider and the costs associated with that. Also around sort of research and data. So the insight section looks at our active lives survey, and we also have different campaigns that we run. So the We Are Undefeatable campaign, working with the Richmond group of charities. This Girl Can, focusing around obviously women and girls, getting them active, and also the Join the Movement campaign, which was set up during the pandemic. So we recently, well, I say recently, but we launched our new Uniting the Movement strategy last year in January. So we were in a transition year up until March 2022, just sort of putting in the starting stages of our new strategy. So it is a 10-year vision to transform the lives and communities through sport and physical activity. So it's looking at how we can adapt and rebuild from the impact of COVID-19 and to help improve the lives of people. So we're really looking at different focuses of how we can achieve that. And through our insight and data, we have sort of looked at different areas in which we are focusing our efforts on to be able to implement this plan. So we are focusing on 5 big issues. So these are recover and reinvent, connecting with health and well-being, positive experiences for children and young people, active environments, and connecting communities. So these were the 5 key areas that we felt that were identified to us, but also from our own sort of research that we felt were the main areas for focus going forward in our 10-year vision. Okay, so there's various different ways for us to be contacted. So we've got a funding helpline, an email dedicated inbox as well, our website which has ample information as well, and also you can follow us on social media through Twitter, Instagram, Facebook and LinkedIn. So do sort of follow us if you are looking to get sort of updates as well on any of our funding programs. That's everything from me, so thank you so much for listening patiently. So yes, happy to answer any questions.
Okay, there was a question. Is Angela Billing? She's saying, would you be able to help with costs to obtain a long-term lease? For example, costs for advice from a solicitor?
Unfortunately, we can't fund associated costs like that. It's more about the actual project itself. So if you were looking to put something in place, although we appreciate that's something that's part and parcel of that project, we're not able to sort of fund those types of costs, unfortunately.
Thank you. Leslie, would you like to?
Hi, thank you. I have a question about the Platinum Jubilee Activity Fund. When would that close? Is that still ongoing?
So that's still ongoing. So although it has the name of the Platinum Jubilee Fund, it's kind of more about the wider sort of aspect of getting people together and people within, connecting people within the wider community. So yeah, it doesn't have a deadline at present.
Okay, thank you.
I think Simon's question kind of follows on from that. Will the Jubilee Fund go back to being the small grants fund? And if he's had a Jubilee grant fund, will he have to wait another 12 months to apply for a small grant?
So for the first part, I'm not too sure what's happening with regards to once the Queen's Platinum Jubilee Fund is going to end. We don't actually know any further information on that. Again, this is part and parcel of us working on our sort of new strategies, where we are looking at our investment models and our funding programs. So unfortunately, everything is just being reviewed at present. So it's, for apologies to be vague, but yes, we don't know ourselves what will be happening with future funding. What we can say is to keep a lookout on our website. In terms of obviously the 12 months, if you've applied for Jubilee, I believe that you would still be able to apply if it's a completely different program, but on a small grants model, you should be able to apply to that as well, because it will be a separate type of program, but it will be sort of clear in any guidance that we have how that is sort of put forward.
Thank you. Alison, would you like to ask?
Oh, hi. Yes, I was just wondering how sort of broad the range is when you talk about sort of sport and activity, because we're sort of setting up a trial active travel hub in the centre of Kettering, and we could really do with some sort of help to get that going and to run active travel related events and activities out of that. Is that the sort of thing that you would cover as well?
I guess it depends. So we would need to see that clear line of sight from the request to what it is doing in terms of getting people active. Although we appreciate, there will be certain things that are set up, we would need to see how that investment is then relating to getting people active and the numbers that would kind of come from that. So I guess I think it would be really much how you are putting that project together, but also what it is that you're sort of applying, what funding, what the request is, I should probably say. What that request is, is it for equipment, is it for if you're looking at salary for a sort of team member, then maybe that's not something that we could cover. However, if it's about the equipment to set that program up, potentially it may be something that could be eligible if it fits that particular program criteria.
Thank you.
Okay, Simon, do you have another question? Or was that from the previous one?
No, I do, and I think you might have half answered this one.
Okay.
I used to work in a senior role in an active partnership until recently. In the last funding cycle, you had a series of open funds, core market, older people, families. Is that something that you think might be reappearing at some point in this current funding cycle?
So again, with that, it kind of partly answered that, but it's because we are in that transition, just come out of the transition year of our new strategy. All of our funding programs in terms of obviously investments such as that are being looked at. So it is all sort of under review at the moment. So I wouldn't like to say what's happening. I don't actually even know what's happening with those. So unfortunately, I have to be a bit vague about that and say it's sort of watch this space on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody else have a question for Alpa? Can't see anything else in the chat here. Okay. Oops.
I've got another one possibly.
Yep.
Just in terms of Sport England's view around sort of overhead / management fees, obviously running projects, that's what you want the money primarily to go on, but actually an organisation has its overheads, it has its management of staff and so on. What scope is there for in terms of applications for including an element? I know some funders put in a nominal maximum amount. I think Comric Relief are saying you can apply for £10,000 and £1,000 is available for that. Is that something that Sport England are looking into or considering as part of their funding regime going forward?
So again, I'm not too sure if that would be included at a sort of future point. I know at the moment things like that, management fees and so forth, aren't always sort of included within a project. I guess where if it's like, you need a project coordinator or something, and without that project coordinator, that whole project is not going to be sort of possible. I think it would be on a case-by-case basis. We'd have to look at that, but certainly things like sort of solicitors' fees or management fees, things like that haven't tended to be covered by our programs previously. But it would be based on the criteria at that point in time if a project is, if a program is opened up going forwards.
Angela's asked, would it be possible to have the slides? Would you be able to? I've got those, haven't I? Is that okay for me to share them with everybody? Okay, then we'll do that.
Of me? Yes, that's fine. Thanks.
Okay, lovely. Right. If there are no more questions, we'll wind up. Just one more chance, folks. Okay, right. Well, thank you very much, Elpa, for joining us today. I've learned a lot today.
No, that's fine. Thank you very much for your time. And yeah, you know, do get in touch if you have any questions, or, you know, after today's session, you have something you want to discuss with us.
So the session will be uploaded, so you can watch again. And if you can remember to complete the online questionnaire, and if you include your email address, you'll be entered into the prize draw. So thank you all very much for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you at some of the other sessions. Thank you.
Thank you.